Test.
It's live. Live?
Is there a light on that tells me it's live?
That's live.
Because I'd like to talk to you about.
Make sure Mike's working here. Okay, let's get underway. I want to give enough time so that we can get all the images in tonight. First, let me bring up our announcements. Okay, our upcoming presentations. Let me make sure we're recording here. Okay. Upcoming presentations, upcoming meetings. We're lucky enough to have Carly Sullins next Friday. She's going to be here in the clubhouse live. She's doing a presentation on creativity and how it really is applied in her work. And actually, I went to her website. It is quite interesting as well, just how she has managed to adapt certain creative styles into her work to make just ordinary photographs really just exciting. So Carly will be here next Friday. That will be live. Then January 5th will be a people competition, which will be projection. Deadline usually the week before, but all of that is on the website. January 12th will be a Zoom presentation. Clubhouse will also be open. J.P. Stones is going to do a very interesting presentation. Again, I think he talked about 2 years ago to us on Charo Country, which are really this group of indigenous natives in Mexico that he's worked with over the years and leads photo tours down there, and some amazing images of the indigenous people, but actually a very interesting arrangement he has with them. He has an arrangement with them that they get a cut or a share, proceeds of every image that is used of them, taken and marketed. So it's almost like a partnership as well. So it's a very interesting story and very, very interesting pictures. So that's going to be a Zoom presentation, and the clubhouse will be open on January 12th. January 22nd, nature competition. It will be a print competition. And because it's a print competition and we got to entertain everyone while the judges are doing things, we'll have a little talk, and we're lucky enough to have our own Eric Wethington from Dodds, and I was lucky enough going through the archives to find an early picture of Eric with his earlier camera equipment there in the old days. Actually, that's one of the newer strobes there. But yes, he is going to be talking on cameras, bodies, and lenses, oh my. And so a lot of just the new equipment and whatnot. He'll be talking before the competition on January 22nd. Our SIG meeting, the next one coming up, be very interesting. Concert photography, low light action photography, how to get access, all those kind of things. Dave Bush will be talking then. That's January 4th, the first Thursday of January. Instagram, our Instagram page is up and running. Cleveland Photographic Society. Any images, they are looking for images that you want on the Instagram page. Email your images, JPEG images, to socialmedia@clevelandphoto.org, and they will put them on our Instagram page. And of course, you could also tag any of your images with Cleveland Photographic Society. And now, a big announcement. This is a big one. I don't usually waste a slide for just like that. May 3rd, 2024. This is like Cinemark theaters, they're coming by May 3rd, 2024. Yes, it is here. We are going to have a phone competition, our first one. Now, come on, Brian. I don't see laughter in the audience here. This is the real deal. I mean, we are going to dip our toes into this. I actually, a few weeks before this, have a phone lecturer who gives courses on phone photography, going to be lecturing us as well. Phones are now where it's at, but each one of you that has a digital camera, you are going to be in positions where you're going to be somewhere and there is just a photographic opportunity and you don't have your camera. In that case, it's either nothing or your phone. So basically, we are going to have a phone competition. This is a regular one. It's not part of the competition season. We're going to have judges judge the same way. It'll be projection through Shutterscore. Everything, it's going to be a one-time thing as well. So the reason I'm bringing this up now is start looking at that thing there and quit using it to make phone calls. And start, thinking of that now to actually get some shots in the bag so we have something to enter. So that's May 3rd coming. Anyone on the Holiday Lights field trip, images for our field trip page, just email them any form to info@clevelandphoto.org, and I will put them up. Upcoming exhibits, Beechwood Library. The theme is motion, and the exhibits page will have all the information on that and how to submit. So check out the exhibit page on our website. School will be starting in a week or two. Fundamentals, Intro to Photoshop Photo Editing, and Intermediate Photoshop Photo Editing still have some spots available. Lightroom Classic will be in the spring, so you could sign up still for those. Cabin Fever Party is getting closer, January 27th, a Saturday. Put that on your calendar. Again, there'll be more information coming on that. It was a blast last year. It's right here in the clubhouse. And again, it should be a lot of fun. And finally, all of our public meetings, this one and whatnot, are on our YouTube channel. Just go to our homepage on the website, and in the upper right, click the YouTube icon. And then when you get to the YouTube, just click on live there, and you'll see all of our talks there too, and you could watch them. So with that in mind, let me put this, or I'll leave this here for a second. We are tonight going to have this is our third critique night. It's been very popular. We had a lot of entries. We had 20 people, 56 images entered. What we are going to do tonight is our commenters are going to be Rick Wetterow, who's in here, and Chris Bosworth are going to be commenting on the images. And we're going to start off with 2 from each person, so we're guaranteed to get, we'll spend 3 or 4 minutes on each one, that we're guaranteed to get through everyone. We're going to do it this time in reverse alphabetical order. Last 2 times was alphabetical order by first name. This time we're starting at the back and going up. And any time we have left, we will then, just randomly put in some other ones too. And when you look at these, remember that they project better on the side monitors. If we're looking at critical things, a lot of times the detail doesn't come out here in the shadows, but you'll see it on the side monitors. So, without taking up any more time, and again, any edits suggested and whatnot, or most of them, we'll try to do in live time right up here on the screens. So, to start off with, let me bring up, and we are going to start with Mike Lonsdale. There we go. Okay, so we are going to start with Mike Lonsdale. This is our first image, and usually what to do is our commentators just alternate, but I'll leave that all to them.
I'll grab the first one
Okay.
here. I really like the feel of this. The colors, the first thing that struck me was the complementary colors kind of between the blue and the wheat grass that's in the foreground. And the placement of the lighthouse, that's right where it should be. I'm trying to come up with something that would be of a corrective nature. Not having been there, we'll be saying this a lot tonight, not having been there, I don't know that I would have done anything differently. If I was going to do something, I maybe would have made a decision between the sky and I'm going to call it, what are they? Wild grass, seagrasses, wild grasses in the foreground. I think I would have tried to make a decision because we're kind of 50-50 with the horizon. The horizon is nice and level, but we've got about equal amounts of sky and foreground, and I think I would have tried to make a decision depending. The clouds are okay. They're not the best that I've seen. So this is one where I would probably shoot it a couple different ways. Drop down and include more of the grasses in the front, or maybe, and then do somewhere you raise and get more sky and see what looks best. And sometimes tweaking the sky, but that split 50-50 between a horizon doesn't always look that great unless maybe you've got a reflection of a landscape or something.
Chris, I'm going to add something here. It's a great subject. The horizon is right in the center as far as the vertical centering, and you really don't want that. You want it more towards the top third. But you got a great subject, crop. I mean, it gets lost. It's so far away. I mean, the most important subject in this is, if it is a lighthouse, just crop in, because it just gets lost in the image. It's too far away. Too much sky, too much seagrass. I mean, Richard, I'd even crop in considerably more. Bring the left in. Bring the bottom up. Bring the sky down a little bit. See what that looks like. We're still kind of right in the middle as far as the vertical, so either way. But now, I mean, all these cameras that we shoot have so many megapixels. I mean, you can crop in and not lose any detail. You're gonna hear that a lot from me tonight as far as cropping.
Yeah. If anything, you might do what with the sky? Darken the sky? Okay. Would you leave okay, we'll leave the crop the same way. And you're suggesting darkening the sky, so let me just try down and dirty kind of thing here. Or just mask it and okay. We will. Okay. Just to get the general idea. Let me go from there. Here is our original with this before we darken the sky. Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of ways to, but I think the idea of coming in a little closer in this and not having the horizon line dead center is really the key on this. Okay, let's go to the which? That's the, okay. This is not a, yeah. Okay, this is Mike's other one.
I mean, great capture in nature. I mean, very often, not very often, do you get a male buck to sit that still while you're, trying to take a still image of him. Very clear, very good bokeh. I mean, we're focused right at the buck's face plane, so everything, from in front of him to his face is very good in focus. This could probably use maybe a little bit cropping because he's dead centered, and you really don't want your image dead centered. The histogram looks great. I'd maybe kind of pull in a little bit from the left and the bottom.
From the left this way?
Yeah, yeah. And then the bottom, pull the bottom up. Maybe a little bit more from the left. Yeah, right there. The eye looks from left to right, so the main character in this is coming from the left. But yeah, great blur behind the deer.
Yeah, nicely done. Okay. Yeah, was there someone else going to say something? No. Okay. Speak now or forever. Okay, Ken Hubble is here.
Oh, beautiful color. You just wish we had those back. Although maybe this is in a greenhouse. I like the diagonal branch that's in the back. I think the exposure is really good. The disturbing thing and the hard thing about flowers, and I think this one is okay. The back upper leaf that's not part of this blossom is a little disturbing, and I know we could, and that up in the corner where you're, yeah, that bothers me because of its brightness, and then come down to the pink one. Now come over to the side, to your right.
Am I
Keep going.
right?
I'm sorry, you were almost there. That leaf that's in I'm sorry, the bud that's in the background, the blossom, right to the left, right there, the petal.
The
That
petal.
yeah, that petal bothers me because it's so close, it's softer, and the petal in front of it is a little bit soft. So this is one of my things where if I'm shooting something like this, I'll do a multiple of apertures to decide where the cutoff point that's going to look best is. Because you might find that it's just that you have to do some developing on that petal that you're at right there, maybe to tone it down a little bit. Definitely, I would maybe, I don't know if I would crop or darken. I have trouble darkening things that in the way upper left-hand corner that's so bright. That needs to go because it really
That
pulls our
up
eye.
there?
Yes.
Well, one of the things you could do with that, and just to always keep in mind, is on that, rather than darkening, which could be a bit difficult,
You do generative fill.
yeah,
Kind of
nowadays
similar, yeah.
with that, in other words, let's see. It's working on it. It'll give us 3 opportunities, but usually it fills it in well. Because again, darkening it sometimes looks a little artificial, and if you could see, it gives us 3, and even that one. So that's your before.
I didn't mention, I wouldn't crop this, I don't think at all, because it's filling, the main blossom is filling the frame, and there's no problem with, in my respect, of seeing a flower dead center, because they're symmetrical in, you know, in shape, so it doesn't bother me that it's centered.
That was taken on a very windy day this past spring.
A magnolia tree, yeah, on a windy day. See, and it,
Yeah, these are the things we don't know when we're sitting back here in our comfort, not knowing what the conditions were like.
yeah, it's unless you were going to yeah. That would be a hard one, but okay. This is also Ken's.
Well, here's a beautiful monarch, if that's what it is. Framed real well, though the butterfly is very, very clear, but the flower or seed head that it's nesting on is not very much in focus. Can you pull up metadata on this and see what f-stop it was shot at?
Yeah.
And I know that butterflies, they don't stay very long. They don't give you a very long picture to snap them.
There's no metadata. This must have been taken from something else. There's no metadata listed
Okay.
here.
So the seed head that it's sitting on is I mean, really helps in the framing, and it is as important as the butterfly is. So, you know, if we're on a tripod, or if we have light enough to open up the f-stop to maybe shoot at a f6, f8, I mean, that's gonna bring that into focus. As you see the bottom. Okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
f2.8.
That
Yeah,
makes
Ken
sense.
said that was
Yeah.
f2.8. Yeah.
So bump up your ISO and maybe try and shoot it at a f6 or f8. If it will stationary long enough,
But that's the problem.
yeah.
But I looked at it,
I get it, just like a B, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But I think Rick's point is that you're right. So you need a fast shutter speed, but also you have such a small depth of field. But if you bump your ISO up to, 1,000 or something like that, then you could shoot at a 2/50th of a second, so you could freeze them and still be using like f8 and get that.
And don't forget, you can put it on auto ISO,
Yeah.
and that'll just adjust as you turn your shutter speed up.
Yep. Yep. Very nice. Okay. John Fondren.
Wow, great action shot. So those of you at home, you don't get to hear the oohs and ahs, but there were oohs and ahs here in the clubhouse. You just can't not like this shot. That's a beautiful shot. Probably somebody's grandchild, I'm going to guess. You just can't miss that puck being right on the stick. The timing was just superb. Probably maybe did rapid fire on it. Exposure's really good. Sports like this are extremely difficult. I don't know that there's anything I could or would change on this. He's looking into some space. There's more space on the right where it should be. There's not too much behind him. If you wanted to get real picky, you could crop a little bit behind him. But I don't think it's essential because he's like right in the left third there. We've got a little diagonal line with the stick. I just like the shot. I don't know that I would do anything to it. Great capture.
Yeah, this is, and if I'm correct, is this probably a goalie? He looks like he's dressed like a goalie. So this is the action thing of him stopping it actually. So, yeah. Yeah, this is right. It's a really nice capture. Okay.
This is another one of John's, and I've been mentoring John for the past, 4 months or so, and we've gone on a couple field trips, my backyard and down to Medina, and once we get past late fall, there really isn't much interesting as far as color, out there in the garden or in the prairies. But both him and I keep looking for, some of these dead seed heads. This is a milkweed, and I think he captured this near or at his house on a very frosty morning. And the clarity on what he grabbed from the frost on top of the seed pod, the tongue in the seed pod laying down, the beautiful color, the frost hanging from the front lip of the top of the seed pod, and the bokeh behind it. He captured this perfectly as far as the clarity, and then getting the blur behind the seed pod. This is a print.
Very nice. Can I have my 2 cents to this? This is, John, you're over there, right? Okay, now, this is perfectly captured. This is, when you're out though, there are certain things you can't do anything about. And I agree with Rick, this was perfect capture. But, let me, you know where I'm going with this. Now, what I look at with this, and something you can't do anything about, is this branch, which is what I think the milkweed is on. It's going up and it's going out of the picture. And that was a little bit distracting, but there's nothing you could do about it other than cut it off. So I think the picture is a perfect one, but I'm thinking, what if we could just, and I'll just do this more down and dirty. I can take off, let me try this one first. See, I've taken over this picture. It gives you an extra thing. Again, at the time, it's perfect. You recognize it right. The settings are right. The bokeh is perfect. Everything is perfect. There's nothing you could do about that top one. If you take it off like that, you still have that bokeh in the background, And now this is just, it's sitting on top of that. I don't know, what's you're the maker of this. This is your vision. But it's something, again, it just gives you options where if there's something you can't do anything about, like that one in the back. I don't know, Rick, what do you?
As far as a print, I agree. If it was nature competition, you can't do that.
Yes, you can.
Or you should.
No, you should. We have now, the rules have changed this year. With AI, we have a director. He doesn't want. Dave doesn't want me to bring this up or whatnot. He doesn't want the can of worms. But in no, it's not can't win. It's with.
I'm kidding.
No, with the advent of, we have always been removing things from pictures. In the old days, it was cloning, then content aware, whatnot. It's just gotten more sophisticated. That's all it is. But with this year, nature used to be, and that varies club to club in terms of what you can remove, whether a pop can or whatnot. And in the new rules this year, it was decided that as long as it wasn't the main, you can not add things to a picture, but you could remove things as long as it wasn't the main object of the picture as well. And, a lot of this is left to you. So in a case like this, my argument would be he had a great vision. This was a perfect shot. Everything was just perfect. But he had no control over that thing, up there that was hanging. So, it's an interpretation thing, but I think that under this year's rules, that would be allowable. But then again, it's not up to me, and the people doing nature at the time might throw it out and admonish me, but that was my reading. I'm not going to bring Dave into it this time.
But it used to be if you could do it in film,
Yeah,
if you could do it in film, then it was allowed in digital.
yes.
So you probably couldn't have gotten rid of that in film.
Right, but you see, this is a new time. But the thing is also, it's not because of AI coming along. Is with cloning, we've been taking little wires out or, with the old primitive cloning from 20 years ago. So we've been doing that. It's just that the technology's gotten more sophisticated and we could do it better. I could have cloned that out 20 years ago with Photoshop. And it probably would have... But film is... Yeah, film without, right, exactly. But actually, the club had this whole thing, and you're right. It's purely just, one, it's up to the, as long as it's within the guideline. And the guidelines, the club down the block might have completely different guidelines. This is one that's purely arbitrary based on the club. And then it really is up to John. As long as it's within guidelines, if John says basically I just like, that because it shows, it's more realistic and whatnot too, that's his vision. So as long as it's, yes, yes. You could take half of it off there too, right? I won't take. You're right, but that's another thing as well. If I drag that off, and let's say we just take half of that off, but again, this comes back to John, his vision, and let's say leave a little bit of it on there as well. Again, I always emphasize this is whatever the photographer's vision is. This just gives you a little more control. For people who, remember, if you were doing studio work, you would go in and move things or clip things or whatnot as well. But when you're out in the field, sometimes, again, if there was a cigarette butt there, should you be penalized for that? Well, this gives us three choices, so you could actually.
Or he could have taken a pruning shears and clipped it off.
Yes, he could have. Right, exactly. So it's a.
It would be the wiser.
It's just a can of worms there too. So you're right. It's just another tool that I thought I would stir the pot and get everything all upset here as well. So sorry to, but I agree. It is an excellent capture, excellent recognition of this too. I agree completely. So that is. But any comments and things too? Dave Tripp is over here now. That is he is our. I'm only kidding. I am only kidding. That is. Okay, Joe Joe Miko. Okay, here we go.
Wow, I love reflections. Yeah, I think this is a really good choice in how you framed it, because you probably could eliminate the shore if you wanted to and keep that out, but to me, I'd have to see it both ways because it gives it context. Notice there's a lot of contrast here, which you really need in black and white. Yeah, let's see what it looks like that way. I don't know. That's a subjective choice. I liked the shore kind of anchored the image in my mind as far as what I was looking at. The exposure looks good. Of course, we've got a peak where the sky is, but you just can't do too much about that. I love the high contrast. I think it's really well done black and white. I don't know that I would do anything else to it. I would keep the framing the way the maker shot it.
Joe is, I'm not sure. Joe's out of state watching us, too, so somewhere where there's a lake. Not sure. Very nice, Joe. Okay. Let us, oops.
Well, this is very picturesque. I mean, beautiful colors. You know, our leading line is coming from the left and heading dead center into the object, but that's not terrible because your eye wants to kind of go around the bend, see what's around the bend. The framing's good. I wouldn't crop this. Tell you what, crop it, Richard, crop it just a little bit from the right and from the top a little bit. Let's see what that looks like.
Okay, from the right side, how much?
Yeah. Keep calm. Right there.
From
And
the
then-
top a little?
Yeah. Keep calm. Right there. Maybe a little bit more from the right. Keep there.
Let me go the back and forth. So that's the original. Oh, yeah.
It brings you a little bit closer into the path.
Yeah.
That's all I would do with it.
Beautiful capture. Beautiful time of year.
Yeah.
Looks very nice. Okay. Okay. Jen Gaba.
Oh yeah, I like this. That time of year again. I like the creaminess on a waterfall like this. So I wasn't there. I don't know, what your options were as far as moving around. I love the color. The bridge is okay. If you want to be purely nature, you could crop that out. But I think what bothers me, initially it didn't, but the log in the front kind of stops me from going into the rest of the picture. I don't know that I would have included the log if you had the option of maybe getting up there closer. It looks like there's water in the front of there though, so you couldn't have. But I don't know that I would have included the log there, because sometimes it's great because you've got a foreground, middle ground, background, that's what that does. But yeah. See, I like it better. The log was kind of keeping me from walking into the picture. And then I would cut the log out, and then let's make it a landscape and cut the bridge out.
Cut the bridge?
Yeah,
I mean-
crop down. I'm sorry, crop down. I didn't mean cut it. Just crop from the top, because it's
Wait.
square right now, and I don't like the square.
How
Yeah,
far?
just so you eliminate the bridge.
Eliminate the
Right.
bridge.
Yeah.
If you eliminate the
Okay.
bridge, there's,
Come up more so you're just under the bridge.
oh, okay, not to the bottom of the bridge.
No, right there.
Like there?
Yeah, just so I want a landscape, and the bridge was keeping me from nature. So that's a completely different picture, but I kind of like that. The only thing I didn't like about this, it's okay to have the bridge there, but that's a square, and You know, unless it's a spherical object or maybe a flower where it lends itself to a square. I'm not
What
crazy about
about-
squares. Yep.
Like that. Then you have the
That's-
landscape,
yeah.
but you keep the,
Yeah, when I was saying bridge, I just meant the top part of the
Oh.
part that we can see.
Yeah.
The structural part's kind of hidden by the leaves. Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 different images here. I just was bothered by the log in the front.
I'm going to add my 2 cents here, that I like the log in the front because it gives some good foreground interest, especially the leaves in the pool on the bottom right-hand side. But you cut the right-hand side of the log off. I mean, if you just widened out a little bit, you know, and got all of that log in there, because it looks like the log is, and I'm sure you stack some ND filters on this to get that creaminess of the water. But the log is very much in focus.
let's see. Since Rick brought that up, and I have no idea on this. Crop this. I have no idea how smart the AI is going to be. But let's see if it recognizes that the log was almost coming to an end and doesn't extend it, but it ends it for us. I'm just for my curiosity. Rick brought it up. Nope, there it extended it. No, I never said this was perfect. Okay, get rid. That's I was just. No, so it didn't do that. See, it was pretty dumb there. So that was. But I agree. If there was any way to like step back or whatnot or get, you know, you're right. So it didn't go across. So good, nice one. Let me go back to Lightroom here.
Well, it's very well composed black and white. I mean, I like how your eye leads from the left and the buildings get taller, taller, taller. Certainly there's reflections on the left side of these, you know, the windows of glass of these buildings. Got some foreground interest from the brush down below, which is a little bit distracting because it's in front of, you know, the 2 larger buildings on the right-hand side of the screen.
What did you say was distracting?
The foliage,
Oh, yeah,
foliage.
the
I mean,
foliage.
it's an interest in the
Yeah.
image, but it's just a little bit overwhelming as far as your eye heading left to right, because it starts covering up at least 50% of the building all the way to the right. And I don't know whether if you could have moved a little bit more to the left to get that out of there, or shot a little bit higher. It is kind of hot. The sky is kind of hot, but that's very tough to compose. Maybe a split neutral density filter could have helped here. Maybe you can do some post-processing to maybe bring the sky down or change the sky. But then again, it is black and white, so
Yeah.
very little to do there.
Let's see if we could bring any of it down. It's hard because that sky is so hot.
Right.
This is. No, this is a JPEG. Quite sure. Yeah, you might have been in RAW. You might have been able to
Yeah.
get a little more because there is detail. You're not from the original histogram over here. We're not really. We haven't blown anything out, so there is data. So, if this was Jen, were you shooting in RAW? Yeah. So in the RAW one, you might have been able to bring some down and have some more detail.
I might have just taken a couple, 2-3 steps more to the left to get less sky and more of the buildings of interest.
You know, to the right of that boilers was below that light post. If you
If the what was below the light post?
Light post in the middle. Right,
Yeah.
to the right.
There's
This
another
one?
here, yeah.
So if the foliage was below that, so if all the tree above it
So,
was below.
so if this foliage was below it, yeah.
If that's a picture at all. I think it-
Yeah. You know, one of the problems you run into when you're taking pictures out in the wild like this, as opposed to studio, is you're right. The way the buildings are lined up here is nice on the left. If you step around to the right to get rid of the foliage, then the buildings aren't lined up. You're right. Coming up higher would bring this foliage down, but you can't really get up higher. So sometimes even working the scene, no matter where you go, it's not kind of going to be optimal. I think the way the buildings here are just lined up perfectly, but you're right, it's just, you're kind of stuck with the foliage. Yeah. 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 And just the way those reflections, notice there's a distortion of the reflections on the side of this building, which is really interesting as well. So you're right. And the way this building comes, right, without the foliage and the poles, that would be ideal. But sometimes, again, there's just nothing you could do. Good. Very nice. Let me. Okay. Jim McDonald. Okay.
Oh, great bird shot. This is another one I'm going to have trouble suggesting anything. Let's look at what's really great and works wonderfully. Everything on that bird is sharp and crisp, and there's a catch light in the eye. Those things right there make it a great wildlife bird shot. I like the diagonal of the branch that the bird is sitting on. The bokeh is great, so I'm not too distracted. Yeah, there's a lot of white, but the white in this picture, it's so diverse. There's lots of it that it doesn't pull me in any one direction. It's just there, and I recognize it. If I was going to do anything, maybe I would crop the brightness off the top, make it a little bit more landscape. But that's just kind of a personal thing. The
Just come
exposure's
down
great.
some less of the-
Yeah, take
less
some of
of
the, yeah, just take some of the top off.
Just some of it off
That's
there.
good.
And maybe just come, since we don't want them,
Yeah, I don't want to get them too centered.
if I come here, it'll put the bird just not
Yeah.
in the middle again.
Yeah.
So you have something that versus that.
Really great shot.
Yeah.
Mask the background, and then try to tone the background down a little bit.
Okay. Let's just mask the background and try toning it down a little. Let's see if it recognizes the bird okay. Okay, so we'll take the background and we'll bring the highlights down of that, maybe a little of the exposure.
It just starts to look too processed to me. Those dark areas are starting to look goofy. That's a scientific photographic term, goofy.
I'm just trying to pop the bird with
It's unusual in the sense that we've got multiple areas of brightness that normally would draw your eye away. If there's only one, we'd definitely get rid of it, but it doesn't bother me that much because it just tells me that maybe the sun was striking the background and not where the bird was, whatever caused it
Yeah.
to be brighter. But the detail and the depth of the feathers of the bird is just capturing. It's really great.
The background, you mean the high contrast of the background takes away from the contrast of the bird? Yeah, this is the original, the way it is now. In fact, if we were to take let's try if we pop the contrast of the bird a little more. If we just did a curiosity. Let's see what happens if we just increase the, or let me take the whites up on the bird. It's a, and you've got to play with this. This is our original now too. But I think Chris brought up an excellent point too, is when you do this, if it's ever to the point where it looks like it's been processed, you've done it too much. I mean, there was just, and you might not even know it, but if something just doesn't look right, it doesn't look natural, then you've probably overdone it as well. So this is our original here, and yeah.
And if you look on the side screen, Sue, I just noticed the name of it, that it's, it's a black-throated blue warbler. There's even detail in the black throat, which is hard to do. You don't see it on the front screen, but there's even detail on the side, which is hard to do when you've got black like that.
It's a rare bird.
Is it rare? Well, it's a rare capture of a rare bird.
Yeah. Very nicely.
Richard, let's crop this as a portrait.
As a portrait, okay.
A little more, bring it in.
Little more on
Little
this
more.
side.
A little more, right there. All right, a little more. Go up the top, bring the top down. Right there. Now let's say we want to clone that, that bright white spot to the left.
This
Yeah,
spot over here.
Let's say we want to clone it with some of the yellow and green to kind of
Okay, let's see if we could do that.
see what Content Aware would do, or your AI, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, okay. We want to see that. Let me quickly go to Jim's bird here. Okay, let us do our crop. Again, we took it probably at around here. We'll give the bird a little room to breathe there. Let's see. Come down. Okay, now let's see what we could do with this. And it's a little hard because it's up against the bird. We're going to require AI to. But that would be my select on the color range to do, or a brightness range to do the whites. I could do that. Let me give this a try. Okay, so the object is, what we're trying to do is use different ways to get rid of that hot spot, the white hot spot on the left. So there is 1, 2. You can have it, but this gives you the idea as well. So it really just depends what you're, yeah. And again, if you were doing this at home, you'd take more time, but not bad. That is but again, real nice capture too, so. Okay. Let's see now. Whoa. This is Jim's second one.
Well, we certainly got everything in focus. These are hard to capture. I mean, certainly we're shooting in a burst mode here. Great color. I mean, you can see the pilot in the cockpit. The contrails coming off the front of the wings. You cropped it just a little tight. Top, bottom, and to the right. I mean, our eyes are going left to right, and we're darn near out of the frame as the jet is heading to the right. So just give yourself some room, and I almost guarantee you have it in your original image. You just cropped it too tight. But no, this is very, very good.
And this would lend itself, if you're using I don't know what kind of lens you're using, but sometimes if you're using like a 600 or whatnot, and the plane gets a little too close, then you're stuck with this. It's not that you don't have time to zoom out. So with a perfect capture like this is an ideal one. You could expand your canvas. I mean, it's just all blue around there. You could just give yourself an inch, with a generative fill or however you want to do it on each side too, and it'll just give you the bigger canvas as well. What I was looking at and I'm just curious, and I've seen this I don't do really things in skies and whatnot. Whenever I take a picture of something in the sky, especially planes or whatnot, with all the blue in the sky, just like under a green tree, you get that bluish effect. And I wonder if that was the actual color of the plane or some of that is the reflection from the sky. And what I'm just out of curiosity, just to tone the blues down, just to see. No, everything is so. Usually there's a blue tint. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry there. Where was it? Yeah. See, I bet the right, a raptor. In other words, it wasn't like the Blue Angels where it's blue, but somehow I think the sky, just the color of the sky, that light filters over, and if I were to, here's before, and the question is that more, is that closer to the color of the Raptor? Yeah, so this is probably, the Raptor is more of a silver color, and with probably a little blue tint because of the sky, and then if you increase your saturation, you don't notice it in the sky. Sky looks natural, but the blue on the plane then starts to look funny. So all I did is take some of the blues out, which is what I do, and you're probably a little closer to that. That's just my... Yeah, you could do this a lot more with a brush and whatnot and leave the burners, because the question was you lost the burners back here. But again, if you're working more closely and whatnot too, there would be a way to kind of leave those in. But the general thing of skies, be it a bird or something else, especially if it's white, the sky will impart that blue tint to it. And sometimes just back off on the blue a little, it's a little more natural as well. That's my 1.5 cents into this. Okay. Nice. That's Jim's. George Klepis. Whoa.
I confess I've seen this before. He entered this into 52 frames, for those of you that aren't members of that. So I've seen some of the description of what he did, and he did a lot of work to put this thing together. This is one of those where I don't know that I would do much to it. It's obviously a real creative night shot with light painting. I can't remember what the challenge was on this one. It might have been, I think it was light. Yes, yeah. So certainly did a great job. If you wanted to, we're way into cropping, you could crop some off the top, maybe some off the right. But this is one of those where it's just such a creative shot. He had a vision of what he wanted to do, and I think he said in his on his comments on this that he pretty much got what he was looking for. So that's all I got on that one.
I don't know what very nice.
Seem to be getting all the black and whites. I mean, excellent capture of this defunct bridge, or is it a canal or a?
Down the Metro Park?
Yeah. Okay. They're just, for a black and white, we need darker tones in the black, and it's just a little bit kind of hazy as far as the whites. So we need to separate the blacks and the whites a little bit, whether that would be contrast or tone down the highlights a little bit. Is there a shadow adjustment in Lightroom?
Yeah.
I mean, we need to separate the two because it was just very, very hazy.
Let's, here's our, okay, let's try a dehaze on this. It's a little better on the back, that's 4. So that gives us some effect on the background haze, and it darkens our darks a little more. Come up on the shadows, so I lighten those blacks a little. There's a little more contrast here now, so that's our before, which is a little less contrasty, and that's now.
Yeah, I think that just gives us a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
Hit the eye drop.
White balance, and we're in black and white, though. Okay. Put it on a... Nope, not really much here. Oops. Yep, so we... Yeah, so that improves it a lot. From there to there, your dynamic ranges. I think, doesn't the problem see that there's no real subject or object, what is the object of interest in this? It's just there's a lot of stuff here. So yeah, technically nice, everything in focus all the way back, but I'm not sure what I'd do different. Any suggestions or any? Oh, okay. Gary Wood. Oh.
I think Gary's down there now. Did he go to Florida this time of year?
Ah, okay.
He's really great with birds, and this is a good example of it. It's a little too centered for my taste, but everything else looks good. I mean, the bird is sharp. Back leg might be a little bit soft, but it's overall the parts that are really important. The feathering, the soft feathers are sharp. I might have shot with a little bit wider aperture to maybe give some softness to the background, so it's not competing quite as much. But it's okay. I would maybe just take a little bit off the left because it's like dead center. The exposure looks pretty
But
good.
this is like Rick said in the beginning, we'd be talking a lot about cropping,
Yeah.
I would shoot always a little, wider out,
Yeah.
give yourself room, because a lot of these pictures we just don't have a lot of room, are close cropped with already. There's just not a lot of room to work.
Yeah.
Oops,
Yeah.
there it is.
And he probably has more on his original.
And it's also hard, things that are out of your control too. Whatever that pole coming out of the water on the foot, the fact that this part of the foot is, but you can't move the pole. If you wait till he steps over, then he's behind the log on the right, so you just got what you got.
And some of those things lend to the authenticity of the shot. We know
Yep.
nobody's been playing with generative fill on it, right?
You're exactly right. When we talk about removing a pop can or something too, there are a number of people that said, no, I'd like that in there because of that, and there's no problem. That's your, it's your creative image, so. Okay. Let me just increase the contrast just a tiny bit. There. If we go now between, it was just a
That-
little bit flat.
That helped with the background.
Yeah.
So there was the background not drawn.
Yeah, it separates it out a little.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good choice.
Okay, nice. Okay. I think, Rick, you've got this.
Well, the colors on the digital screen are a lot more beautiful than the projected screen. I think it's composed in the perfect spot, maybe just a little bit negative space to the bottom left-hand side, but once again, we're just a little bit too tight. I really would like to see the tail feathers on this, I'm going to say flamingo perhaps. I mean, I'd like the colors in the top. Whatever those are, whether it's something in the water, it gives, on the digital screen, it gives it a lot of character, but we cut off 20% of the fowl, and I really would like to see the rest of it.
Yeah, that's hard. Gary, you said Gary's not here, right? He's down in.
I think he might be in Florida.
Yeah. See,
Um,
that's hard too, because if this was in a zoo or something like that, I have no clue when this was taken, but if there was a fence down there, there must have been some reason he cut that off. Then you're stuck. But if you're able to crop, as Rick said, maybe, and you had some more room on the upper right.
I'll tell you what, Rich, let's go drastic. Bring that left-hand side all the way in. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Let's kind of just isolate the head. Come on in, right there.
Okay.
Bring the bottom up. Right there. Bring the top down a hair. And the right in a hair. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yes. Then you.
As a matter of presentation, I agree with everything that you're doing there. As a matter of presentation, what I like to do when it's a projection competition, it's not so bad on the side screens, but I like to put a white stroke around it so that it delineates. It's not a problem here, but when you go full screen, it's kind of hard to tell where the image ends on the right-hand side. But if you're in full screen mode, the black just
Oh,
fades
I'm in
out.
full screen mode. Yeah, full screen. Right. That's never a good way to look at it.
But that's the way they're presented in our competitions.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to see where the image ends if you've got a lot of black.
But I think Rick's point is an excellent one, which, for whatever reason, if you had to cut off the bottom here because there was a fence there, so, something else like that too, then picture in it, look what else is there. I mean, you could isolate that head and come out with a really interesting shot there as well, because this just looks, I agree with Rick that I'm just, the bottom's cut off. Yes. Yes, you are, which is you can cut off a little. You could do a lot of, that's just it. If this is what you're stuck with, because let's say there was a fence there, you could try, if you really want the reds in the bottom, crop off a little on the left, so maybe we have this diagonal thing, so it's not as much. There we go. Like that. Isolate that, just experiment. Isolate the head only, just see what you could do. So that's, but sometimes there is that picture in a picture. But that's, on the head, there's a, even if you came down, yeah. Yeah, I mean, something like this, fine. Oh, Rick, use the mic, so people at home could.
People at home. The colors in the upper left, they accentuate the subject here, but it's not the main focus of the picture. I mean, the flamingo is the main focus. I mean, so if we lose those, we lose those, but It just,
It makes it more interesting than it is supposed to be totally black.
we're going to disagree on this. I mean, that's awkward. Missing the bottom 20% of that bird, that fowl, it just feels awkward.
It just, yeah, when you're missing the, again, it's up to you as your vision, but as look
dep-
at,
and it
people
depends
with
on
more
what you got.
experience, right,
If-
with more experience, you're right. There
Yeah.
is you're right. It's missing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The reason I put that F-22, the reason I dropped it tight, I put it out.
yeah,
And make it, the details show on the wall, I want it as big as I could. And that's why I cropped it that way. I did more, crop, you could lose the detail on the wall. I didn't have a lot of, I wanted to let that clear, I used really like.
right. So if you're printing 8 by 10, so in other words, there was a bottom to this bird.
Yeah, so this is probably, this would be the case here, that if I wanted
Yeah.
to, you want more,
Yes.
more air, more on the page.
Right. So your point is that if you're printing 8 by 10 or something too, if there was the whole bird there, you did the whole bird, you wouldn't have as much detail in the top. But Rick's point, which I agree with too, is as an artistic thing, there are certain things is when you look at that, you're just missing part of the bird, and to a lot of people that just artistically is funny.
Put on a screen,
Oh,
yes.
but right, and I still think it comes down to is if you were just doing, there's nothing wrong with a part of a bird, as Rick said too. If you're just doing the head, if you want to get in that head area, fine and whatnot. But most of the bird, but missing the bottom 20% is,
I agree with Rick in this case, it's kind of awkward, but.
yeah,
I want, just because of the colors and the variegations in the feathers from the top all the way down to the bottom, I want to see the bottom of that bird.
yeah.
I want to see it, and I can't because you had to crop it out. I mean,
Yeah.
you can also print 8 by 12 too, which might get you that bottom 20%.
Not in my purview.
Yeah.
8
But
by-
this is but now, so again, it's back to two is get as much as you can, give yourself some room. You could always crop that. With the cameras nowadays have enough pixels that you get the whole thing, and you wanted to crop it like this, you could do it without any loss of detail. But you have the feet there in case, you want to. So interesting. Okay. Okay, we have Gary Marich's stuff now. Let's see.
Boy, there's a big festival going on here. These are hard to shoot. The exposure in this is really right on. If we were looking at the histogram, I think everything would look great. The troubling thing with this is he cropped it well. If this is all he's got, I would like to have more on the left-hand side, because that the headdress on the one in black, you got to include that. To cut it off would just, that's what the picture is there for, is those two headdresses. It just feels like it's cropped a little too tight, and I would want more on the left. The exposure is good. Again, these festivals and parades are really hard to shoot because there's just so much going on. The aperture selection was really good. If you notice, both the ladies of importance are sharp, and that one in the background that we don't want drawing us away is soft enough that it doesn't bother me. Yes, right there. So for the conditions under which I'm sure you're shooting this, it's a really good capture. I would, if possible, if there wasn't something too distracting to the left of the blonde, I would have included more, just so they've got some room to look into.
Rich, flip that
Yeah.
180 degrees.
Okay. Flip it horizontal like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helps because we look left to right.
Well, it's an interesting point. Let me flip back. Wait a second. Because I have a question I'm going to ask you now, and there's no answer because Gary's not here. Let me go back to... My question is this, it depends on your level of sophistication. Maybe I just do a lot of Photoshop. Remember I said if you could tell something is done, it's a little too much. Let me ask your opinion, Chris, since you actually mentioned this about the f-stop.
Yes.
There's something the first thing I thought is maybe this was artificially blurred because
Yeah.
she seems to be more blurred than the background. You see
It's-
these people
yeah,
here?
Yeah, yes.
So in other words, there's more focus here. In other words, as blurred, if this was f 1.8, or 2.8, so it made her blurred, I would expect real blurry there. And those are a little sharper. So I was wondering if because also if you notice the faces are kind of plastic. Now, that could be makeup, but also it could be working on the face because you notice the hair is also a little like flattened too. So you have to sometimes be, and I don't know if that was the case here, that might be their makeup, this might be a real depth of field. And again, if someone doesn't notice that, fine, but you have to be, if you're processing, and that's the case sometimes, just do it so it looks natural.
Yeah, it does look like there might have been something done there.
No, I mean, it's fine. If I didn't have I wouldn't know it if I didn't have these things in the background. But the fact that she's sharp, she's very blurred, and these are less blurred, my eyes just didn't register that as.
Yeah.
I think that background you're talking about, Rich, is probably 4 to 7 feet behind that second woman,
Yeah,
which would kind of make sense as far as the depth of field it was captured in.
right, but I would expect that to be more blurry. If her face is this blurry here, I would expect that to be a little more blurry back there. Again, there's...
Pretty blurry to my
Okay.
eyes.
And next time I see Gary, I'll ask him. That was right. Totally, I might be totally wrong. Yep. Okay. Or for the point is their faces in the shadow and whatnot. Yep. Okay. That's just my. Interesting. Okay. I'll hear from Gary on this. Okay. This is Gary's other one.
Oh, very, very beautiful capture of some type of a daisy. I mean, if I do anything, I'd just crop a hair from the left, right, and the top. We got great colors, great clarity.
Let me ask you, would you,
I mean, there's pictures inside this. I mean, certainly.
right, would
You
you
know.
vignette this at all? Would you kind of darken the edges a little?
Before cropping,
Oh, no, I'll crop first. Which way do you want me to take something on?
just a touch from the top and the left and the right. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Not much from the,
Yeah, not much from the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah, if you burn the edges on this or
Yeah, let me
vignetted it,
just
it would-
try, just out of brush. Just push it down a little. Yeah, there's a vignette, but it's a uniform size, like an oval or whatnot, or things too. With this, I can see. I want to do it just in the areas that I want as well. So it gives me a little more control. See, I want to come up a little here, and let me see now. And again, you don't want it so that you could tell that you've done it. But just something like that, let me bring that out of there, is when I go from, where was it, crop? Okay, okay, so from that, wait. Let me actually, there. What you've done is it's a subtle thing too, but those flowers just see what I've done is I've just in certain little areas, I've toned it down.
Punch the contrast just a touch.
Okay. Go back to- Yep, that brightens those reds a little,
Yeah.
darkens the background a little. So we've got that, yeah. So we've cropped a little, we've brightened up the flowers by increasing the contrast, and we've vignetted the back a little.
And you could carve this up with the crop tool and probably make 6, 8 different pictures out of this.
Right. Right. But even just, to think about all these things, because again, this is a very, very nice picture right there. And all we've done is just some minor things, but you can see the difference now that makes, especially with sometimes that little bit of vignetting enough will just make everything stand out there as well. So, nice capture. Yep. So, very nice capture. Okay, let's see who we've got here. Eric Botsky. Eric's here with us tonight,
Yeah,
so
I saw him come in. Really beautiful. Where is this, Eric?
Carl Smith Beach in
In
Hawaii.
in Hawaii. This is
Yeah.
Hawaii.
No fair. Everything
Wow.
looks good. I think the exposure looks great. Wonderful colors here. I think, like we mentioned before, that how the log was kind of blocking my view. This on the bottom right doesn't really block my view, but I would like to take the crop up a little bit because our horizon's a little too centered for my taste.
What would you like me to do?
Bottom, crop from the bottom. Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. Yeah, maybe about there. I just want to have a little bit more of one side or the other. It still looks centered to me, but I don't know. Yeah, that's more centered. I made it worse, didn't I? Then let's try coming down from the top. There's nice clouds there. I just want to get that horizon out of the middle. Yeah, keep. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, very, very nice. I don't know that I would do anything else to it. It's got that foreground, middle ground, background, just a nice landscape shot.
You're right. I think this is a beautiful shot, and I don't know. Sometimes the horizon. We talk about the horizon line. I kind of liked it like this. It's because the clouds are. We talk about sometimes, like in that first picture, having too much of the foreground, or which is your area of interest. But there's a lot of really interesting things down here, and these clouds are really interesting. The trees up here, so. It's just, again, you're right. I see your point. It's beautiful either way. I think it's a beautiful capture.
Yeah, good capture, Eric.
Very nice. Okay.
Wish we could all be there.
Yeah.
I mean, great image as far as getting that wave crashing against the cliffs to freeze. I mean, the image looks just a little bit hot, but I think that's just because of how white the water is.
Yeah.
And I don't really like making a whole lot of comments on post-processing because I don't like to do a lot of post-processing. And, I mean, we really can't change the
Yeah.
color of how white the wave or the splash is. Maybe, from the original image, Richard, maybe just a slight contrast adjustment. Maybe
Yeah,
to
or
bring
let
out
me-
just a little bit more detail in the rocks and the cliffs.
In the rocks, and what I was thinking of is maybe with the this sometimes works. Where the dehaze.
Yeah, I was gonna
Just-
suggest that, but I didn't know if I was gonna
Yeah, I'm just
destroy
gonna paint a little dehaze on these.
up in the top too.
Yeah, see, that's, okay, let me.
But
do a little
somehow,
more.
sometimes that atmospheric haze adds depth to it.
Right, exactly. So I wasn't going to paint the back with that, but a little bit on the, right, you have to be, and I'll back off a little on some of it. You're right, let's just see. Let's just go all the way and see, and then I'll back off. Okay, now let me. So we still have that haze in the back, and let's see, it brings out a little bit, yeah, see, it brings out a little bit more in the rocks. It's difficult, so the haze all the way back, and your point is right. You don't want to eliminate the haze in the background because that's unnatural. I mean, that's what gives it its depth. There is haze back there. But the haze in the front is, we're losing some of the detail in the rocks, so you could either with blacks or what, you know, just kind of work on those just a little bit, and sometimes just a touch. That would be just a touch.
You know, sometimes we get a little nitpicky, and it's okay to see what your eyes saw.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And that's an excellent point. When we go crazy with this post-processing, is this is what the image looked like. I mean, that is actually what you saw. So what you're doing in post-processing is you're trying to, it's like painting or something, you know, you're trying to create something that wasn't there, in which case that's fine if that's your vision, but this is actually what you saw. So I agree with that.
We also have to,
The what?
Like, if you look at it, there's like an arch in there.
Yes.
I think that's great if it's solid. It makes it more interesting.
Yes, with it like this, with the haze there.
we also,
But it kind of brings you into the picture.
Oh, yeah. With it, right, it's,
we also have to consider that Eric probably worked this a little bit. A lot of these images have probably already been worked a little bit.
yeah,
They're,
but
they're not straight out of the camera.
I'm not actually sure how much I worked that one because I remember editing that and there was no cars in the one I edited.
Mm-hmm.
oh, so the one you edited had, yeah, I see the cars up here.
I'm not sure exactly how much I edited this version.
Yeah. But I think again that, and if there's one thing we learned from tonight too, is the post-processing is something you could learn or whatnot, or these little things. You have to have the eye to get the picture. You know, and something like this, and Eric's last one too. I mean, the way these, you know, that or Jen's buildings, the way these cliffs are going at an angle like this, the angle you took at the foreground in there, that's all the composition things too. It's the recognizing it. Those flowers we just saw. So I think that's really 90% of it there. So I really think this was a great capture. There's even a little bird there. That's interesting. Okay, very nice. Okay, we have Elaine Joseph. Is Elaine here tonight? Okay. This is Elaine's.
So I like how the mountains are layered as we go. We talked. This is a perfect example of the haze issue, where we go back further, it gets hazier and hazier. Just for the heck of it, because we haven't done one of these yet tonight, I think I would like to convert it to black and white and add some contrast and see if it'll work better that way. There's not a lot of color in the original.
Will you take out any of the sky? I know there was cloud, or just leave it like
yeah,
this for now.
You might come down to that break in the sky.
To the break up,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, right around there, a little bit more.
right around.
Yeah, because there's a lot of sky in there, but it can deserve some attention. And
Oh,
there's
that's
not a lot
interesting.
going on in the water in the foreground. Looks like we might be a little tilted on the horizon. No, it's just me. It looks like it's tilted off to the right a touch.
The,
Or is it just me? Right. I can't see the line there. But
there,
yeah, I can't see the reference lines on your grid.
yeah.
If the water
Yeah,
is
no,
level.
actually, don't say it looks better now, because I didn't do anything. That's,
Please.
no, actually, I,
Right there, yeah. It looked a
Right?
little bit, yeah, that's it.
like that, okay.
Yeah, you see the sliver at the bottom where it was off just a touch, I think.
Yeah, there it is. So,
I-
yeah, that's straightened a little.
Yeah, I like
So-
it better as a black and white with a little bit
Yeah,
more contrast to
interesting.
it.
Oops.
I don't know what's going on the left there. It looks like we got, something was in the way. We need to crop the left
Oh, you
off.
mean that, yeah,
Yes.
that little,
Yeah,
okay.
looks like something
rid
was
of
in
that.
the way. Yeah,
I like that. Let me increase the contrast a little more here, just to see. Yeah, interesting.
Mhm.
Right, so you just have the shapes now,
yeah.
opposed to
Yeah,
that.
there just wasn't a lot of color there worth having it in color.
Yeah. Interesting, yeah, you could, let me bring it back to, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I think the crop is the thing that made it, but you're right, it's a very kind of subtle blue on the bottom. So I think either one of these, yeah, yes.
I agree with Chris as far as turning it to black and white, but does Lightroom have any type of a watercolor filter?
I don't think so. I think the filters are in Photoshop.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, with the stacking of these mountains, they just,
Yeah.
in the back of my mind, I'm thinking of a watercolor filter.
Yeah, there are lots of things here, but
Yeah.
again, good capture.
Yeah.
Yeah, Topaz Studio has stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and Photoshop has a lot of those, the watercolor and whatnot. But no, this is nice. Very nice. Okay. Whoa.
Shooting through glass is tough sometimes. We're not really focused real well here. A lot of negative space on the right-hand side of this, so let's start a crop from the top and the right. Yeah. Yeah. What if you sharpen it up before it looks unnatural?
We're gonna what do you want?
Sharpen it up before it
Sharpen
looks
it up a little.
unnatural.
Okay.
I mean, I think our camera grabbed the glass here as far as the sharpening point.
Just to give you an idea with sharpening, let's see, there is,
Because there's a streak running right down the middle of the glass that
yes,
our focus point might have grabbed.
yeah, that we could get rid of with the
Yeah,
content aware fill, but you're right, with the glass, with the focus, with the sharpening more, you've got and the cropping especially, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit
eliminating-
better. Anytime you're shooting through glass, it's probably best to go to manual focus.
Yeah. Let me see if I can,
Or put your lens right up against the glass, just like a fence.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you
And
put the lens right up, and a lot of them have little rubber cups over the, like a lens
Yeah.
cap or a lens cover or
Yeah.
lens hood, I mean, which is rubber. So when you put it right up against the glass, you don't get the reflections.
And you shoot at a very wide open f-stop, and that'll
Right.
just eliminate the fence of the glass.
But this is, in fact, let me just, where's our contrast or blacks here? I mean. But even then, given what you have, here's what we started off with. And I think with the cropping and doing those things too is, That's a lot. You know, when we get rid of that,
Yeah, there's other things to clean up, but
Yeah,
that's about
exactly.
the best you can do with that.
right. Yeah, wow, okay. Dave Korosek. Oh,
Wow. Great capture of this event. Her choice of purple on her support clause there is very stunning. It really makes it frames her. Exposure's good. Yeah, we could crop it from the sides, maybe a little bit from the. I don't see much else I would do with this. There's a wide enough aperture that the tree doesn't bother me that much. It's out of focus. The background is blurry enough. It doesn't bother me. It looks like maybe, I don't know if there's a polarizer used or something. We're getting blues, and yeah, that blue looks like maybe there's a polarizer there, but there's also some blue on the left, which,
Tried to vignette around it,
is that yours?
put some texture in this, break up the sky a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, bald sky, there's just not a lot to do with them without total replacement. But I think it's a good event capture. I don't know that you could have done any better. I don't know where you were standing or what lens you were using, but, and how long she held that pose.
She was moving around a lot.
Yeah.
Up and down, so
Mhm.
just about 30 feet away with 24 to 105.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful capture. And again,
Yeah.
speaking back for the candid captures, you know, working the scene is really, really critical of landscapes and static objects as well. When you have this, I mean, this is a split second in time. So the idea with that tree in the back, first of all, if you moved left, then she wouldn't be facing you like that. Also, that pose is, you know, only probably going to be there for a second too. So, you know, you take what you have, and I think this is a beautiful capture. I mean, she just is looking so perfect, and the focus and everything else like that is. I mean, you got the shutter speed. I mean, she's frozen there even though she's moving. Nice. But you have to be careful with the vignettes on blue because you could see, you know, unlike the darkening too, we could see that it's dark blue to light blue. Chris made a comment. So vignetting on sky that's why vignetting's usually done in like leaves and other things too, where you can't tell it. But once you darken a little sky, you could see that as well. I really like this. What event was this?
It was the beach event.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty crowded. It was like sand castle guys.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
a big tripod stand thing that she
Yeah, but I mean, even moving again, she's facing. I can't think of a more perfect. You know, she's just looking at us and facing us just the right way. If you'd moved right or left, she wouldn't really be facing. You know, you'd be getting her side too. So if I was going to err on anything, I'd want to get her like that. I mean, it's very nicely done. Okay.
I wouldn't do anything. It's just a great out west capture. I mean, look at the mountains. I mean, through the looking through the rock structure. I mean, if anything, it's a little centered, but it's centered perfectly. The sky's gorgeous. The colors are gorgeous. The sun's to our back. I wouldn't touch it.
I'm going to step out on a limb. If you enter that in nature, I think you're going to place.
If what?
If he enters it in our nature competition, I think it will place.
It's beautiful. I would tone down the highlights a little there as well. No,
Alabama Hills in California.
No, shadow, everything else looks very, it just was, if you notice here, it's just the, at least on this monitor, the parts of the rock were a bit hot there as well. So that's just a minor, just brought, but that,
And you expect some of that. It was a bright, sunny day,
Yeah.
you can tell.
you know, sometimes your dynamic range is just so big, it's just past what your camera could do. So that's not a setting problem or anything like that. It's just the limitations of the camera. So this is just kind of helping it afterwards. Beautiful.
Histogram's perfect.
Yeah, this is very, very, very nice.
You know, on bright, sunny days or when you have a lot of excellent light, I set my exposure compensation to about a half stop underexposed because you can always you can always brighten something up, but when it's bright, sometimes it becomes unnatural to start darkening things.
Right.
And all cameras, most cameras, you can set those stops to a third or a half or a full.
Yep. Beautiful. Very nice capture. Mm. Chuck Fitzgerald.
Chuck is here tonight.
Yeah, Chuck's sitting in back
Yeah,
there.
I see him. Good job, Chuck. This, it's a great black and white, great character study, just wonderful portrait. If I wanted to be picky, I would either like to see more of the top of his head or less, probably less, maybe because we cut some of it off, maybe come down just a touch, but that's getting kind of picky. And this is an example I was mentioning before, where if you're going to enter this in a projection competition, I'd put a white stroke around this because we lose the frame on the right-hand side somewhat. It just helps for it to stand out a little bit. I haven't found a good way to put a stroke on in Lightroom. I always have to go out to Photoshop to do it.
Lightroom under,
I don't.
doesn't it have stroke here? No, it doesn't.
It's in
a
Photoshop.
thing.
There's one there, but it's in the print module, which always drives me crazy.
What's
But no,
interesting too is when you edit, this is something the background in Photoshop or Lightroom does make a difference because your eye, if you edit with a white background, now watch this picture, because with the background all white, your pupils kind of constrict. So it's not as bright, and the picture looks darker. So we're not changing anything with the picture, but let's see what happens when I go to white. Sometimes your pictures will look darker, and when you go to black, it'll look better because your pupils dilate again. So sometimes it's better to edit with the medium gray in the background so you don't artificially darken or lighten one. No, this one's perfect. I was just using that as a...
I'm going to step out on a limb again. We got a people competition coming up. I think this would place.
You know what the nicest thing about this picture is I love?
That's it.
The diagonal.
Yeah.
The whole thing is
Yes, yeah.
a diagonal. I
Yeah,
mean,
his
that
shoulder.
just jumped. It's not the, if his head was tilted a different way, but everything, the hat, everything goes from upper left to bottom right. I really like it.
Chuck, was this an event somewhere?
The homeless stand down.
Yep.
They gave you COVID too. No charge? Okay. That was beautiful, but a really nice image. Okay. Whoa.
Well, this is very creative. Gorgeous colors. It's very hard to imagine that this was staged and shot. I mean, a lot of post in here, I can almost imagine. No?
A lot of glass cleaning.
But this
So the glasses are full of something clear and, okay.
glass is just water.
And what we're seeing through the glass is the background? Well,
That's a computer screen in the background.
huh.
Is that, what kind of ball is that? Is that ball resting on that glass?
Yeah, it's sitting on top of the glass on glass.
And that, the water from the refrigerator, so it won't have the bubbles in it. Get it better. And those are all just true reflections of the lights from the back.
That's the refraction of the light.
Wow.
What kind of ball?
That's just a crystal, one of those crystal balls. They call them ball rings.
Solid ball?
Yeah, it's solid glass. It's very hard to tell if it's stone by looking at the so it's upside down.
It's resting on the side of the top of it.
It's just resting on top of that glass. It's solid glass ball. Not want to take it out and sell it.
Wow.
Very creative. Very good. Very good.
Really, this is it's beautiful. Beautiful shot. Okay. Bryant Muhammad? Is Bryant here tonight? Okay.
I'm not sure where the light's coming from, but it's we're blown out in places, and the natural mask on the animal's face is making it look even worse, I think. I'm not sure. It needs some processing, but I'm not sure how I would approach it. I'm okay with the crop. I mean, you could come in, if you came in on the left, you were blown out there.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of
If
this
we
is-
came in from the left, we'd get rid of some of that, crop off some of the left, get rid of some of that blown out there. Now, do we, yeah, and coming from the right also. That might fix our problem. I wouldn't crop from the bottom because we're gonna lose his whiskers. That might have done it. Is there, I don't think anything's blown out now. What happens if you, take the highlights down a little bit?
That's what I did. The highlights are all the
Oh,
way
all the
down.
way down, all right. How
Here's
about
them with
whites?
here's with the highlights.
Yeah, and
not down.
open the shadows up a little bit, maybe will give us some more detail in the face. That's better. Much, much better. He just looked like he was in a cave. We
What
still
did-
have the highlights are blown out to where they won't recover on the
We
left.
weren't able to, we'll do it with that, but these whites over here down the left, they're kind of blown out, so they won't darken. These whites up by the top of the eyes, they darken, they're not blown out. So doing these original, in fact, I will do that.
I mean, that did a lot, especially when we opened up the
Here's-
shadows, and you can see more character in the animal's face when we open up those
Right.
shadows.
There is, well, it takes down a little, so there it is, there. So yeah, it did take down some of the, so it just depends what you wanna, yeah. Oh, I lost my crop.
Yeah, you lost your history there. It was that opening up the shadows, I think, that did besides cropping out the highlights.
Yeah.
Open up the shadows, it just
We
brought
did
some
is we, you know,
character.
we brought down the highlights, we opened up the shadows a
Right
little
there,
in the
opening the
eyes.
shadows makes a big difference. Yeah.
Just to get it.
That's a good example of what true digital processing can save an image that needs it.
Yeah, this, because again, this was a good recognize the good capture. This is a great face and whatnot. Yeah, there are two schools of thought. One of them is incorrect. There are those that say, and I get all the time people saying, well, cropping is lazy, you should get it right in camera, and that cropping is lazy. And if you talk to a lot of professionals, really, and they'll tell you their images, they always leave room, and cropping is a deliberate thing. It's sometimes, again, because this is a moment in time, you quickly get this, and it's not like a landscape where you could plan it out. You recognize this is good, but then afterwards you realize there are certain things, there are pictures in a picture, and little things you could do. And from this, taking it from that, again, which is the great capture, recognizing that, you kind of take it quick, then afterwards, how can improve it? Now, if that was in stone, if this wasn't a real animal, you could take your time and whatnot and center in and get the thing just like you want, like this. But with this animal, recognizing that this is a good picture, you take it, and then afterwards work something like this. So I think cropping is a deliberative process that not for every picture, that for some could really just get you what you're looking for.
I would agree with you. I don't know that anybody can think fast enough and get captures like this unless you're doing landscape. I mean, that was for the guys who were shooting with 8x10 plates and contact printing. We don't have that problem anymore.
Yeah, if you're on a tripod, right, if you're doing a landscape, it's completely different, or something static as well. But something like this, if you really have the time to think, take a few seconds to think, how should I crop this? Should I get in closer, whatnot? He's going to turn, he'll turn to the side, look somewhere else, and you don't have any shot. So sometimes grabbing the shot, then working with it, I really love this one.
Hey, Richard, on that
Yeah.
original exposure,
Yeah, there we go.
pull your exposure down a little bit.
Okay, just take the exposure down.
And we're losing it.
Okay,
Really-
then I
really-
could also try bringing the shadows. Bring his eyes up. We would go from there. Whoops, from there to there.
Turn the lights down.
Bring the blacks down. There you go. Blacks are down there. So yeah, there are lots of ways. And again, what I emphasize is this is your vision. It's your photograph. But these just give you options. You recognize the good capture, and whether it's a crop, whether this, you come out to say, oh, I like this better or whatnot. So
And does Lightroom have a burn tool?
yes, what I do with that is I just do a brush mask and bring down that with a soft feather like that. So now you mean burning the edges?
Yeah,
And let me just
it's
bring
a
that.
little bit too harsh, a little bit.
Yeah, I could just
Very,
adjust
very
it
soft,
then.
very soft.
Yeah. Yeah, that you could dodge and burn in this. I could burn in the upper corner here. Some down there, some up there. Let's see if it's a little more. Right, little things like that will accentuate the face more. So you can do, like the old darkroom days. Rick, you remember those days? Dodging and burning. You could just dodge and burn around this until yeah. So there are lots of ways you could work on this. Yeah, so there's our original, and this is with the dodging and burning. So you just got to see what's right for you. But I still think, again, the original, recognizing this as an interesting picture, getting it real quickly is the key. Nice. Okay. This is Brian's second.
Ooh, that's a tough one to capture.
Yep.
I mean, the jacket just overwhelmed the picture. Yeah.
This was what, the exposure?
Well, our camera probably grabbed the white suit coat.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we
Well,
can.
you can do this, if you do fast, you just spot meter
Yeah.
on the suit coat if you
Yeah.
have time. Let's see, it's not blown out. Let's see what happens if we come down on the whites. Actually, we could bring some detail back in that. But the question is whether we could bring out any detail in the face.
Right.
See, that's pretty much up on our histogram up against the left side. I don't think there's any. Yeah, I doubt we're going to bring much. Yeah, because the head is blending into. I agree. Oops. Let me go around. So I agree we could bring detail here, but this is a case where, recognizing if you're taking if you're in this area like this and you see this is one of those recognizing that either quickly, as Rick said, bring your exposure compensation down. You're going to run into a problem or spot meter, one of the other. But there's no good way out of this then, because that jacket,
Or if we had a flash,
yes.
I mean, even your onboard flash probably would put more detail on his face and hand.
Correct. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but this is just a hard one. Your dynamic range is just out of the camera, and it just grabbed that white coat, that bright white coat there. You know, otherwise, and it's important to know those technical things because it's a beautiful capture. I mean, look at the sweat is coming down, the emotion, everything else like that. It's just that we can't get it out because just the camera grabbed the coat. So. Good, okay. Go to Bonnie Luxo. Whoa. Oh, and let me see. Wait, Bonnie sent me an email on this. Forest with wall and mist. I used CR detail and denoise. So then edited in. Oh, that's Capture Raw. I used Capture Raw, detail and denoise, then edited in Capture Raw and finished in Photoshop. My question is how to improve the sky without losing the mist on top of the mountain.
So what I really love about this picture are the earth tones on the lower right quadrant and the trees. I would not have known that was mist up there. I didn't know what it was, but I guess now she says that.
I don't know if that's
what it
mist. Is that the sun coming up?
That's what I thought it was, but I don't know. I don't know if it's recoverable to something that I would want. I would like to see what it would look like if we would make it a vertical and crop the left all the way in to get that sky out of there. It might not work, but I just love the earth tones that are on the right-hand side.
What the heck? You want what? You want to
All the way over to where the keep going. Yeah, right. Maybe you're there. Let's see what that does. I just love those earth tones.
I think without that,
Yeah.
but
The exposure's
The
good,
question-
all except for that sky. Just
except if that's as people would take pictures with the sun rising and whatnot, if that's the sun in back of the branch there, you know, it's almost the way it should look. It's not like a defect there. It's like the sun is. Sky replacement would be difficult. Yeah, the question was about sky replacement. Because you have this, you'd have to do a lot of work, is where does this isn't really sky, the mountain is up here. And the white is just, so the sky replacement would probably try to, you know, and maybe that would work, you know, and it might. A small amount of dehaze. Okay. See, I think this has been, like Bonnie says, this has been processed a lot already. But I think that is sun. And if it is sun looking at us, then I don't know what you could.
the scene has a lot of potential, but it's just maybe a little bit later in the morning. So if that sun wasn't there, I think it
Yeah.
would look really good.
Split neutral density filter.
Split neutral density.
Yeah.
There you go. Right. That would be probably the only way. So your neutral density is covering this area, maybe gradated so it's just the sky and not down here. And I agree. That would probably be the only way to do this. Okay. But you're right, the earth tones are beautiful. Let's see. Let's see Bonnie's other one. Let's see if she had a question on this one. She used Camera Raw detail and denoise, then edited in Camera Raw, finished in Photoshop. My question is whether to keep part of the wall at the bottom left, to lead the eye to the water, or leave it out completely. I like at least part of the wall for texture, but does it mix with the natural setting? Which wall is that?
There's a wall right there, right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
that. Oh, okay. So her question was to keep part of the wall at the bottom left. So, I think, is she talking maybe about cropping it or something so that it is in the bottom? You think I'm on the wrong picture? No, image number 122. This is 122. So yeah, this is the image. So maybe she's saying of keeping that in the, I don't know, the wall, I didn't even, huh?
I think the ferns and
Yeah,
the algae or the moss on the wall in the foreground, I mean, it really helps the picture. It just, there's a softness to the whole picture that just,
yeah.
it's not real pleasing. Flip that 180 degrees.
Okay, it's also, let me see, oh. It's interesting, because a lot of noise here, and the question is too about it is, this was shot at ISO 4000. Now, it's a 20 millimeter lens, but f20 at 1/320th of a second. So the question is, do you need 1/320th of a second? If you had shot a lower shutter speed, you know, if you could hand hold this at a 60th of a second, and probably then wind up with a much lower ISO, because there's a lot of noise.
What was the f-stop?
F-stop was f20. It's a 20 millimeter shot at f20, and I don't know if you need that
I
big.
don't think we needed that closed
Right,
down.
at f20. So if you're shooting maybe at f16 or f11 and a 60th of a second, your ISO would probably be somewhere around 800 or 400, and you wouldn't get all this noise. Huh? When she, I don't,
It's hard telling. I mean, look at all the noise in the clouds too.
yeah, I don't know. So the question was, is this really early? I don't know, but that is always a consideration. Rick, you were saying do what now?
Flip it 180.
Flip it
I mean,
180.
just so
180.
all the
left
water's
and
coming
right.
from our left or the opposite direction.
Oh. Interesting, yeah. It flows left to right.
If I was going to crop anything, I'd crop just a little bit from the right-hand side, but that's kind of, yeah.
Crop some of the clouds off. So. Actually, that's nice because again, you're right. The clouds don't add anything up there, and they're all grainy too. So if you just took a little bit of them out,
Pretty picture. It's just, I think it's over-processed.
yeah,
Or just our settings were off a little bit because, I mean, even on the screen up here, it's just, it's just cloudy.
yeah.
It's hazed.
I don't think the metadata would have. I don't think the metadata would have time of day too. That's. Let me. It might, but if she processed it, it might have. Yeah, let's. On the metadata. Yeah, ISO 4000. Yeah, you're right, because it's, yeah, it was date created was 1:27 p.m. But you're right, if this was Hawaii or something, if it's not set for, I was just more curious. Back to Lightroom. But, right, that's it, if it was, so if it was like something, right, but let's say it was Hawaii, if it was like 7 in the morning, maybe this was just before dusk or something and she really, but that wouldn't make sense because 1/320th, these are settings for a bright day, a 3/20th f20 too, so. Yeah. Right. I think the problems in this, one thing we learned from this is the settings. is that F20 and 1/320th, if you get those down to where you probably needed them, because the whole problem here is this noise and whatnot too, and you could probably bring that from 4,000 down to 400, in which case it might look, your sharpness might be better, everything else like that. I don't know. Okay. Bob Kowaleski.
Oh, I have Mr. 27, and it looks like he's got another one coming. That's a great shot. That is wonderful. It looks even better on the side screens. On the front screens, your shadows tend to look a little blocked up. I would not do anything to it. I think it's gorgeous. The contrast is good for the black and white. That's, Bob's going to enter that in place again.
Come on, Chris. You
I'm
can't
not
do
saying
it.
at
What, do you
27,
want
I'm
to
just gonna
crop
say-
something or do?
No,
It's a.
Bob, I'm sure Bob has already done all that to it.
I know. It is.
It's great. I mean, it's got leading lines going out. The horizon's straight. It's he's included plenty of those dramatic clouds. He shot at a slower shutter speed to mute the waves coming. It looks like there were waves in there. It's got it all going. I love it.
Bump the highlights up a little bit.
Bump the highlights up. Okay.
See, I liked it a little bit dark because it gives it the drama.
You mean lighten the highlights a little?
Yeah, right there.
Okay, like that. There's.
Play with the exposure a little bit, see what that does anything.
Lighten it or darken it.
Yeah, let's see what it goes either way. You down, just a touch to the right. To the right. A little bit less. Right there.
That's just a touch. Brought up the highlights a little and increased our exposure a little, so we go from that. Oh, yeah, that's
The shadows, you can see more.
okay. Right, but the shadow, I'll bring up the shadows, but sometimes that's where your contrast is too. We don't want to make everything, let's see. There, oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
very nice. Okay. So let's see, that's our original. Try just, okay, back to the original and try just opening up the shadows a little. Like that. That's original. Yeah, so just a little touch up like that. It's after you do those that you're right, you go back to the original and it looks a little flatter. Okay. Very nice. Let's see what Bob's got for his second one.
Great composure. There's a fence or something on the bottom, if you can kind of crop that out for beginners. Yeah, right there. Or do a content aware.
Let's see if we...
Yeah. I mean, it's perfectly framed.
Yeah.
And a very good exposure. If the trees could be, if you can section out the trees and maybe do a little bit of saturation.
Increase or decrease the
I would
saturation?
increase them a little bit.
Okay. Let's take a saturation. I'll start a little higher here. Just get some of these trees and let me just increase it a bit more. Okay, so there's as far as up as we can go with the saturation. It's a little overdone there. I like that little pink. There's some kind of little pink in those clouds too.
Yeah. I mean, there's just certain images you just shouldn't touch. I mean,
Yeah.
if you wanted to see more clarity in the mountains, I mean, maybe just isolate the mountains themselves and crop below and just a little bit above, keep some of that sky,
Yeah.
and let's just see what it looks like as far as a landscape.
Or on the mountain, let's put a little texture. Let's see if that, oops. Let me take that back. Crop. Let's just, for a brush on the mountains itself. Yeah, it's hard to do, maybe just, yeah, anything you do here almost looks a bit overdone. I agree with Rick, sometimes, yeah, you just. The original? There's the original. I really like it.
I think
yeah.
that's the picture most of us would take.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. You know, and it's nothing wrong with fooling around and afterwards, you know, say, I just like the original. So I agree. So, very nice. Nice, Bob. Here we have Belinda. Okay, so this is, right, there we go. So that's Belinda's first shot. So you want these like to show you, yes.
Let's
Before,
see what-
okay, so this is
let's
before.
see what we do
So-
to it.
So this is what Belinda did at the tabletop workshop.
Okay, we're
So
gonna,
there- so
let's
she
see what
did-
we do with it, and then we'll look at what she did with it.
No, it doesn't.
No.
No, because what she did with, no, it's not a matter, what she did is
Oh,
that,
very nice.
which was, so it wasn't a matter of lightning or dark. We wouldn't
No.
have come up with that, really.
I was gonna take out the,
I know,
the
that's
cord
the,
on the side.
right,
and leave it
so
at
that is,
Wow.
so you use this to make your Christmas card then.
Very nice.
That's how did you did that mask automatically, or did you work on that? Because I'm fascinated by it. That's beautiful.
It really wasn't that hard to mask it out because most of the planes, go back to the original show, I just used the, what was it,
select subject.
the select subject.
And it did that good a job?
Because it was missing part of the reindeer.
Yeah.
Well,
Missing part of the white cloth.
it got all those
Jeez.
holes and stuff in between
Yeah.
the reindeer. That's amazing.
But it worked pretty well. And then what I did was mask out the background and insert a landscape snowshot I had in my backyard.
So right. So what for the folks at home, right? So you masked it out and then put in a snowscape from your backyard.
And my question really is, does that background work?
Yes.
Does the background work? Was your question? Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
The only thing that it's not a problem. The artificial trees that were in the original are a little bit darker. You can, if you want to get picky, but they're also closer, so we can believe that the trees in the back are further away, and there was a little bit of drifting snow. I saw the bases. Yep,
What did you take out, Belinda?
the bases.
Base of those artificial trees.
Yes, the base of the artificial trees are taken out, and the base of Santa is taken out. I don't know that's tremendous.
That's great.
That is, wow.
The only thing I wasn't sure is if I should have added, like those red berries on his pole, give the lead reindeer a red nose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little over, right, you know, that's, the red nose on the rain. No, but taking something like that's amazing. That's great work. really well done post-processing. That is amazing. Very nice. Barbara, you're on Barbara Hubble. And let me go to library. Okay.
A beautiful stone structure here. It looks just a little bit dark. I mean, if we could punch
Is it
up.
on the side monitors too?
No, not necessarily on the side monitor.
Yeah.
I mean, the sky was hazy. As far as cropping, I mean, you're going to kind of lose some depth if you take away any of the grass. I mean, it's kind of a record shot, and I don't mean anything bad by that, but it's just a shot of a stone structure, pavilion. I mean, you can play with the exposure a little bit, the color saturation a little bit, but I mean, really, there's nothing else you can do to this to make it any more or less interesting.
Barbara, I have a question. This was there anything, there weren't buildings right up against this. Was there anything to the right of this or left of
Yeah,
this?
that's Hinckley, isn't it?
No, I think
There was or wasn't? No, because this is when we get back to, the tight crop and whatnot too. Whereas this is the structure, and that kind of dominates the whole thing. If you would step back more, if this was like in the bottom right and was just part of, if this structure was in the bottom right of the picture and the left was all those beautiful trees and whatnot, it would be the structure in the, the setting of all this. But tight cropped here, with the backgrounds all out, we just have the structure too. And I would have, so this is, I think it would look a lot better if we step back, if we got something else. Yes. Right, so you're right, the detail of the stonework. I think if you got out, so you just had a little bit, more on the left and upper part here, you could still see the detail on the stonework too. So I'm not talking about a lot, so it's real tiny in the picture, but just enough to give it to breathe. So it's not the main part of the picture, it's like a part of the picture. So right now this is the main part rather than a part of it too. It would be more, what was that?
More majestic. If you had more background in there,
Yeah.
I think the picture would be more majestic.
More majestic if there was more background in. I would always tend to put more background in, and then again, you could crop it if you want it like this, fine, but you have the option. Whereas once you crop it, once you're close in like this, there's not a lot you could do to, to enlarge it. I think it's a really interesting structure, and you're right, a lot of detail on the stonework. But I think, and there's a little more detail on the stonework, but yeah, as part of if this was like half the picture, or 50% of it, and the other 50% was the beautiful trees around in the left, so it was in the setting of that too. Does that make any sense, Barbara?
Or if you got, really close to the right hand side and took a close-up of the stones on that outcropping on the right. I don't know if there's enough detail in there, Richard, if you crop in on
The stones.
yeah, just a decent-sized square on there. I mean, do we have enough pixels to make that interesting?
That might be hard. Let's see.
Yeah. I mean, just, the image as it is, it's just too static. Yeah.
It's not a lot of, right, we're really coming in close then. Let me see. Yeah. But also you notice on a lot of these hazy days, and again, this is sometimes the best the camera could do, but you see that if we just add a little, to go from that to that. All we did, since you're working in Lightroom now, is we just did a little dehaze, up the contrast a little, and a little texture. So you go from that, which now when we go back, the original looks a little flat. But that's was just bumping those sliders. That's the original. So again, that's not a camera setting thing. That's okay. Let's see. Barbara's second one. Go to the third one. There we go.
I have been here and taken that shot.
You've been there and taken that shot?
I have been taking that exact same shot. It's very attractive because it's got the, the leading lines that curve around and just kind of guide you down. We better been there on the same day, Barbara. This is the one too. It looks like it's got a little haze to it. It could use a little, maybe a little texture, maybe a little contrast. It's an appealing structure when you're there because it's man-made, it mixed in with the natural, with nature. I think that's probably all I would be able to do with it. It's just a very hard shot to take.
Yeah. And sometimes, again, a little trick. Where was it? If you have something in the background, like, where was it? Shadows, I'll try this just quickly here. Okay, whoops. Let me go back, mask. Okay, if you have something in the back, like that blue up there, which is possibly a sail or whatever it is too, and it's distracting, and it's right in back of that tree, and you see that would be very hard to clone out or something like that too, is since it's blue and there's nothing else around, what I do is I just use a little brush and desaturate, and just desaturate that little area. And now it becomes gray and you can't tell that it's there. So sometimes you have a complex thing that's either red or blue and it's mixed up in there. You could just desaturate that and get that out of there as well. But yeah, that's the original. That's a little dehaze, a little texture. And yeah, but nice. Very nice. Okay. We have 2 more to go, so we'll get them all in here. Andrew Gurai. Oh. Is Andrew here?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is,
That's over at Botanical Gardens.
okay.
So they have that strip there, you can see the whole deer. And I took pictures of the whole deer, lit 2 ponies, so I just got down to shoot up. And that's a little bit more interesting.
We're cropped a little tight to the top, but about the only thing, and there's too much blue and negative space to the right, so about the only thing I think we can do with this is crop in a portrait, stay at the top, come in a little bit more right there, and then come up from the bottom. Keep coming, keep coming. About right there. I know we're kind of centered right on the nose, but that's really about all we have to work with. Now we can play with saturations and colors, and certainly there's a shadow from the chin down
there's-
across the right-hand side of the neck. But if you crop this, you cropped it too tight to the top of the top antler there.
It's one of these, this is interesting too. You'd have to do that with a brush or whatnot in Photoshop. But this is also one too, is that, and maybe this is fine, it's like that plane in the sky. There's so much blue all around that it's reflecting on this. And I don't know, I wasn't there, but I bet his ear is supposed to be white and everything. And it's got this little, maybe not, but it just got a bluish tinge.
I think it's probably bathed in a blue gel.
Yeah,
I think that's.
I agree,
that's-
you're right. The
think
more
that's
I look at
theme.
this-
That's the theme of that exhibit, I'm pretty
I
sure.
agree.
What's it called? Frost? Yeah.
But I like this crop. You're right, that's you're right, and the angle you took it from below is nice. That is a nice perspective. But you're right, there's a lot of that, as Rick said, blue on the right there.
And with a lot of these cameras, you have an articulating screen on the back of your camera. Fold it out, put the camera above your head, and shoot straight on.
Yeah,
The other thing, this is probably 10 or 15 feet off the ground too.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get a head-on shot, so you got to shoot up.
If you're close to 6 feet tall, put your arms in the air. You're 8 feet tall with the camera.
but this is a nice.
Just all I'm getting at is work the image.
Yeah,
You know, work it from the side, work it from straight on, maybe even get lower, lay on the floor, shoot up, extend your hands up in the air, take a couple shots, use your articulating screen just to get it centered, or get what you're trying to get.
yeah,
It gives you more to work with once you get it in the computer.
very nice. Yeah, I like that. Okay.
Oh, we got a pooch shot.
So this is a little bit sentimental because we had it put him down about a year ago.
Oh,
Oh, so he was put down about a year
Yeah,
ago.
we had to put it, he was 52 years old.
mhm.
He used to love to sit in the house. It's more sentimental.
Yeah, and that's clearly understandable, especially, you know, even if he was still alive. We're attached to our pets. So there's a bunch of cropping we could do, but of course, the one thing that's, you had an on-camera flash, it looks like, that gave us devil eyes. We'd want to replace those white, yeah, get the black.
There is a thing in Lightroom called Pet Eye.
Yes, exactly, that's where I was going, that you can do something with the eyes
I'm
there.
on
And I
Pet
think it
Eye
will
here.
keep the highlights. Or it'll keep,
Let's see. Add catch lights. We did that. Let me pupil size. A little bit more.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's
So
much
this is
better.
what I was. So let me come back then.
I would
So it's
probably,
not perfect, but that's the. Wait.
and then I would play with the crop to make it a headshot.
Play with the crop to make it a.
Maybe a vertical headshot. I'm not sure which way it's going to work, but I would come in even tighter, try to get rid of that white thing on the right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, just make it a headshot. That's good. And then maybe come up from the bottom, try to keep him, bring the top down so his eyes are in the third. Yeah, that's what I would do.
Oh. And you do a better job on the eyes, but you're right. The pet eye thing is,
Yeah.
you with that just white there as well. Lightroom will take care of that. You could do that better. Put a better catch light in his eye. But I like that crop. You're right.
Once tonight, anyway.
Huh?
You said you're right. I went, yeah, once tonight, anyway.
No, don't mind me. And the last one is Amy. Amy, any order you want these in, Amy? Start with this one. Okay. Amy's first one.
Very creative with the colors. A lot of the white is a little bit distracting. I don't know if we can crop this down enough and really kind of get a lot of that white out of there.
Amy, what is it?
Should we look at the next one?
We can. And they have actual manual processing.
There's minimal processing on this, and it's a picture of what?
This is a tree, in Toledo View that has sprinkle lights.
Yeah, it's,
They're all
I see 'em.
painted, But it's their big giant tree,
Mhm.
so it's all, it was.
Was this intentional camera movement?
Yeah, it was
Oh.
exactly moving the camera, not fixed on a tripod, these were all manual, where I intentionally moved the camera.
So this is a multi-lit tree with intentional camera movement. Oh, big.
Very little. Yeah. It changes all the time, but
Yeah.
or the time you
Wow.
I mean, it's beautiful colors. I mean, there's nothing we can do with the white background. I mean, if we try and dodge that or tone that down, almost going to look completely different.
You just have to take some off the top.
You
Take
can
some
take
off?
you can take a little bit more off the top, but just don't get into the colors. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty. I mean,
Yeah. It's
you might want to bounce the saturation a little bit up, as long as it doesn't bring in any more highlights.
yeah, but that is nice. Let's see. Let me just try maybe the vibrance here.
Yeah, it brings out some more of the greens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the vibrance will just bring out those that are least saturated.
Right.
Haze might help too.
The what?
Dehaze.
Oh, dehaze. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you like the ethereal nature of it there too. You're right. It's an abstract.
Yeah, it's a nice abstract.
Very nice abstract. Very clever, too. Especially since, yeah, that's interesting. Let's see. And then this is the exact same subject.
We got to teach you to hold your camera more steady there, Amy.
This-
I'd say the same thing we said on the other one, that, it's a real, just a creative way of shooting. I think if we messed with the cropping or anything, we'd probably destroy the intent of what she has here. Yeah,
yeah, the colors.
this one looks like you saturated it more over the other one, or was it just the night effect?
This one, because it was nighttime, so I
Yeah.
had a much longer exposure on this one.
Oh, nighttime longer exposure, so the colors are more saturated.
It was still bright outside, but the lights weren't actually very vibrant yet. Like, you're shooting Christmas lights, you're not shooting at this point. Except the person who's shooting next to me.
Well, this is,
But it's the difference of shooting the same subject and going for two different looks. But the one was literally, the
Yeah.
lights weren't that vibrant, whereas this was nice.
it's always good to experiment.
Yeah, it's
So
the
this
beauty
is-
of our, digital cameras. We make these abstract images that don't
Yeah.
cost us anything, that we can look at and appreciate.
Yeah. So you got through all of our photos. I want to thank everyone who submitted photos. I hope you got something out of this. Thank the people at home. Thank Rick and Chris for the comments there as well. And, we found this a fun night. We had a lot of submissions. And like I said, we could have gotten to more, but it's 10 o'clock now. But we've been doing this. We're going to continue to do every 3 months. So we'll have it again. So keep those images and submitting them. And thank you all very much.